Do you DuckDuckGo? Apparently the best time to tweet is at 2 o'clock in the morning. And Google Direct Answers look stupid. Again. All that and more in This Week in Organic, episode number 5.
This week's in Organic. Live from London on thisweekinorganic.com.
Broadcasting live from London, welcome to This Week in Organic, the weekly show that debates the ramifications of the latest SEO and content marketing news. Sign up to watch the next show live at thisweekinorganic.com. Hello and welcome. I'm David Bain, and each week I'll be joined by some knowledgeable, opinionated folks to discuss the latest happenings in anything that impacts organic traffic. And as for you, dear viewer, get involved. We'd love to hear your opinion too. So just use the hashtag TWIO on Twitter, that's TWIO, and if you're watching live, your thoughts will magically appear in the chat box to my left-hand side. So let's find out today's guests and where they're from and what's caught their attention this week. So starting off with Josh.
Hey there, guys. Well, I'm Josh. I've been in the search industry for the last, 7 years, focusing mostly on organic SEO and also doing SEM. I am pretty involved in the online community, and I have a blog, joshuabelland.com, that I update with tips and different strategies like for organic SEO. And yeah, I'm happy to be here on the show.
Yeah, great. Great to have you, Josh. Is there any particular topic that has happened over the last 7 days or so that maybe has caught your attention at all this week?
Yeah, quite a bit. I've been looking at some disruptions that have been going on in June that started about mid-June with Google's algorithm, or actually just with the actual search rankings in general. In fact, recently I think Wikipedia switched over to HTTPS, and that was I've been reading some articles that were focused on that and talking about how that may have been an influence on some of the volatile rankings that were going on. And then I think that also the upcoming Panda, or the people foreseeing the Panda update, that's been something I've been seeing going around quite a bit as well.
Yeah, the HTTPS is quite an interesting one because, of course, Reddit went HTTPS as well as Wikipedia, and that's caused a higher percentage in general of HTTPS search results in Google, and it's quite hard to figure out, whether or not it was Google algorithm that changed as well to actually increase the percentage of HTTPS, or it was just because of those massive sites choosing to go HTTPS. But,
right, yeah, exactly. And that's been a question of mine as well, because I've definitely noticed a fluctuation and a change. In fact, just looking over, I looked at Mozcast not too long ago, and I realized, you can even see the trends that they've been recording. It's just been a lot of up and down, search rankings overall, and I'm just kind of interested to see what they come back with or what comes out. We're not as informed, I guess, with Matt Cutts not really being around right now. There haven't been really as many updates, right, coming directly from Google on the matter.
Yeah, that's right. Google have fragmented really their source of communication on what's happening, and it's more challenging to figure out what's happening. So yeah, lots to talk about. So also joining us today is Tony. Tony, would you like to introduce yourself and give us a feel of what's caught your eye over the last week as well?
So my name is Tony Passey. I'm actually the CEO of a small agency in Salt Lake City, Utah. I also teach search marketing and various principles in organic, and I teach that at the University of Utah, that's located just 10 minutes away from our shop. So I have a little bit different view sometimes on the industry because I spend a lot of hours in the classroom teaching fundamentals, a lot like coaching, and when you teach something, you tend to look at it a little differently, a little deeper sometimes, and so I have that perspective, and then we do a tremendous amount of client work around here, and so try and catch those two together. Interesting. Josh mentioned communication breakdown with Matt Cutts not being at Google, and I've been kind of hunting around the web as maybe some other people have. The word on the street is that they've replaced him. That somebody's there, somebody's running the search team, but they're not as public facing and probably not as comfortable as where Matt is. But this is something that we've been kind of looking into today, is where there's not a clear line of communication, that's not defined. What kind of things can we glean from the various sources that are still there? And so not a lot of information coming out of Google right now. However, it doesn't seem that the updates have slowed down any, and so it's a little bit confusing in the last few months as to what's going on. So
a lot of information and misinformation out there, I reckon, as well. So also joining us today is Tyler. Tyler, would you like to introduce yourself and perhaps give everyone just a feel of what your view on what's happened over the last few days in terms of SEO and content marketing?
Sure thing, David. I'm Tyler Barnes. I'm with Emfluence Digital Marketing here in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm the director of search here at Emfluence, and we're a full-service digital marketing agency. So what I do on day-to-day, I came up from the search side. So originally I was an organic search strategist. I've been doing it for about 7 years now, actually 8 years. But now I also run SEM side as well, so getting my hands a little more dirty on the paid side of things. I think the most interesting things I've seen this week have actually kind of following along with what Josh was saying. It's the kind of aftermath of the Phantom update, as well as the upcoming Panda algorithm update. Those two pieces together have really shaken up things on the web, and I've seen it for a few of our clients where it's been very interesting, and we're just now getting enough data to see how that's bouncing back. In fact, this week and last week, I've started to see where some of the ranking shakeup from Phantom that happened on May 2nd through 4th are starting to actually kind of come back, and Google's kind of moving it back in a direction where they're helping out some of the sites. I think how algorithm updates are. They get really hard at first, and then they kind of back off after a while, and people kind of sprint. So that's been the most interesting thing I've been looking at this week.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm sure we will have a further conversation about that. Now, I, of course, had some technical challenges before we actually started, so we didn't really get an opportunity to have a good conversation beforehand. Your microphone doesn't seem to be coming through that clear, actually, so it might be worthwhile just having a little look at to see if you can actually turn up the input of that, or perhaps actually see if it's your main microphone that is being used there. But
okay, let me take a quick peek here. Let me do a quick test.
Okay,
does that sound better?
It sounds a little bit better, not absolutely spot on, but I can maybe mute you for a second if you want to take a little look at it, and we can have a little discussion here of the first topic. Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, let's start off by having a look at a little search engine. So DuckDuckGo have announced that they've just surpassed 10 million searches per day, which seems fairly significant, actually. So does anyone here use DuckDuckGo? Josh, maybe starting off with you. Have you tried and used DuckDuckGo?
I really can't say I have, but I am aware of the announcement that I made, and I'm not sure if it's just if it's really. I'm not sure if it's because people are just becoming more privacy conscious nowadays, and or if it's just more and more people are kind of going away from Google. But at the end of the day, I guess I'm not really that in tune with DuckDuckGo.
Okay, so
being an SEO, my whole life is pretty much Google.
I know, yeah.
And a little bit. Yeah.
You just have to follow what the general public does, certainly, don't you? I mean, I haven't worked in the States, but I remember working in Australia, and when I was working there, about 94% of searches online were done on Google. And I know it's a bit less in the States. I think it's about 75% or something like that.
Sure, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, it's about 75% because I think Yahoo and Bing collectively, take up about 25% of that.
Okay. What about yourself, Tony? Have you used DuckDuckGo, or do you use it on a regular basis at all?
So I use it quite a bit personally. So there's a lot of things that are very interesting to me. So I spend a great deal of time working with students ages 19 to 30, and they seem to behave and they seem to view the internet slightly different than maybe what some of the older users, people that really got into search at the time that the internet was really born. Privacy, tracking seem to be huge issues. There seem to be massive trust issues with that certain generation, that certain segment of the population. And so what I see quite a bit is I see people like the clean search results. They like that it's an uncluttered search engine. I personally have it set to my default search engine on Safari, and I really think that I think DuckDuckGo gaining market share is going to be a function of really two things. I think that if they do a better job putting buttons out there that will cause it to be the default browser in on mobile devices, on tablets, on PCs, which is where a lot of the search engines we tend to think that a lot of Yahoo search volume that we see, a lot of Bing search volume, isn't really coming from a conscientious choice by the user, but it's really that at some point their device got synced up and got set to default, and they've just never figured out how to change that back, and so they just learn to live with the search engine that they're on as their default search tool. I think DuckDuckGo can do a good job at prying into the marketplace, and I think once they've got a little more adoption, I think there might be a snowball effect there. I think the other thing is trust issues are going to continue to be a really big issue. There's got to be tremendous pressure on Google to perform for stockholders, and most of the updates and tweaks that we've seen to search quality, as much as they claim that it's not really about monetization of the search engine, I truly believe we've seen a lot of major changes and updates that have been really directly related to ad revenue. And so DuckDuckGo, it's in its infancy. They can take a lot of leeway with how they do it. We have seen success here internally as well with advertising. So as you probably know, DuckDuckGo's ad network, their advertising is all tied in with Yahoo's network. So as you advertise on Bing ads, you can place pay-per-click ads on DuckDuckGo, and we've actually seen pretty good results through those mediums.
Okay, well, we've got Lewis Pugsley tweeting live saying that DuckDuckGo finally getting the recognition it deserves. So what do you think, Tyler? Is DuckDuckGo a search engine we really have to keep our eyes on? We've got silence there from you, Tyler. Okay, I'm afraid we can't hear you at the moment. Josh or Tony, you can't hear Tyler at all, can you?
Can you hear me now? Is it?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to get rid of the mic. We're going to go straight out the back.
Okay, that seems better than it was anyway. So that's great.
Right,
so you can hear my question, couldn't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Just had some mic issues there. I think DuckDuckGo is something we have to look at, but not as a major competitor to Google. I believe that DuckDuckGo is going to continue to gain in popularity, and it could become maybe a kind of competitor to a kind of a Bing or Yahoo type situation, but I really don't see it over the long term taking out the Google dominance in the field, just because I don't see the snowball effect happening. What I see happening is people that are extremely privacy conscious and want to completely stay anonymous, which is still a small factor. Everyone says they really want privacy, but they want the bigger companies to give it to them. They want Google, Apple, Microsoft to provide that privacy. They don't want to go out of their way to get that privacy.
Right, okay. Well, at least they can put some pressure on big companies like that to hopefully do things better for consumers and think about consumers' privacy, as you say. So talking about Google have said themselves that they'll be dropping emoji characters from search results. They started supporting this about 2 months ago, and Expedia were one of the first companies to add emojis to their page titles. So are Google removing emoji spam, or are they stopping organic results from getting more interesting and a little bit different? So Josh, maybe, what's your opinion on that one there?
I think that emojis are a spam indicator. I mean, I think that Google is just doing their best to keep search results clean and to give their users the best experience in this case. Just when I heard about that, just sort of envisioning search results or just a web full of emojis, it kind of I don't know, it didn't sound that great.
It's all right.
I don't understand why you're doing it, because I think about it when I get emails and I have little hearts and stuff all in the emails. I'm just like, delete. I delete it immediately because it usually indicates spam.
It depends on where you are, maybe on Periscope or somewhere like that. But I guess the challenge is Google can't really control it. And if as someone else suggested on another webinar a few days ago, someone put 5 stars next to a result, it could make the website visitor think that that was 5 stars in reviews as well. So
you're right. Yeah, and there's also the fact that I know that some people may be arguing, hey, click-through rate is something that we're going to try to manipulate with the emojis. A lot of people believe that click-through rate is a top organic ranking factor, even though Google hasn't directly said it's an organic ranking factor. They've kind of indirectly implied it in the past. But I think that like authorship, now that right there, I think would probably be more correlated with Google trying to capitalize more on their ads. Maybe they're losing a little bit of ad revenue due to authorship, and that's why they got rid of that. In fact, their revenue ended up going up after that, after they got rid of it. So I think that was, but the emoji, I honestly believe that that's more just more correlated with them just wanting to keep the web clean and not wanting people to stop using their search engine, because they see a bunch of hearts and stars and things like that throughout the web.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And in relation to the first topic actually, DuckDuckGo, Stephanie Catcher has just tweeted with the TWIO hashtag the link to the DuckDuckGo blog article on them surpassing 10 million searches a day. So if anyone wants to read that one, just go to the TWIO hashtag and you can find Stephanie's post through that. But what about you, Tony? Are you an emoji man?
So first and foremost, I don't care. I really just don't. I just don't care whether it's in the search engine or not. It doesn't make a hill of beans difference to me. But that said, so Josh painted this picture that Google's cleaning up the search engine, and I think you have to take a step back and say, okay, for my generation, for people older than me, yes, it looks like you're cleaning up the search engine, but what about the person who's 13 years old right now and becomes a major consumer in 6 to 10 years? What does the world of digital look like to that person? It's full of those icons. It's full of all kinds of crap that doesn't look right to me. And so I don't know if it gets revisited down the road. I definitely think it's a distraction. But I also think that, you mentioned emoji in the email subject lines, and so the first time you were able to send an email and put that icon in the subject line, click-through rates in email went through the roof. It was like this revival, and everybody thought that this was going to be the new thing with email, and then about 5 minutes later it was over. And so I think these things are going to pop up and they're going to disappear real quick, and I really think that that's all that was, is a couple of people jumped on, they saw a little bit of increased click-through rate, but I don't think that anybody's going to be able to point to their business and say, I've been successful because of these emoticons or these emoji icons in my text.
Okay, so we saw Expedia just trying it out a little bit, and it was quite fun to see little icons like an airplane seat beside the flights page, and you can maybe guess that resulted in higher click-through rates to that page, but possibly only short-term, and you can understand it not being in page titles in Google search results for the long term. Is that your thoughts, Tyler? Do you think that it has any future at all in search results?
I just don't see it having a future because Google's got to walk this fine line where if they keep allowing it to happen, it's going to get spammy and it's going to kind of deter from the search experience, which is what Google wants. They want people to quickly click on the ads or click on organic and find something immediately. So once it came around, I thought everyone had a lot of fun with it. There was a lot of talk in the search sphere about how can you use this to improve your click-through rate, but I think it was always a short-lived little game that Google was going to pull it away because I think we all agree. It's just nobody really sees a major use for it, and there is some danger that people can abuse it. I think the 5-star example is a great example of that.
Mm-hmm. So staying with Google, Matt Cutts has now extended his Google leave until the end of 2015, and he's not getting paid. However, he's considering his future. So what will he do in the future, and does it really matter now? Because he has been away from SEO influence for quite a while now, really. Maybe Tyler again, are you concerned, or do you not really care about what Matt Cutts is up to now?
You know, having Matt around was great, and Matt Cutts is a great guy, but it seems like he's really enjoying his life, taking this extended vacation, and honestly, I'm jealous of him. I wouldn't mind a year-and-a-half vacation myself.
Not getting paid?
Not getting paid, that's the thing. If I could do that, I would, but I kind of need that income. But I think that overall, Google's done a good job of kind of filling the role of Matt Cutts. We don't have that centralized kind of search presence like we used to have, but we've got guys like Gary Isles stepping up and sharing a lot more from the Google Webmaster Tools side, and we're seeing Google Webmaster Tools offer a lot more connection to things like Google Analytics and the Search Console that they just put in. So overall, I think that really we're going to be okay without Matt Cutts, but I am sad to see him go. There was a lot of fun around Matt Cutts and his persona at Google.
And I know the little cartoons and avatars that started popping up. I guess they couldn't last forever. Josh, are you going to miss Matt Cutts at all if he does actually decide he's not coming back?
I'd say so, yeah. I mean, I kind of probably I feel the same way. I mean, Matt Cutts, he was sort of the go-to guy in the search industry. I mean, that actually worked at Google. And it was, there were times when everybody would be yelling at Matt Cutts about, algorithm updates, or you'd see like 100 tweets fly at him in a second because all of a sudden, there was some disruption in the rankings. And his responses were always pretty sometimes amusing, and sometimes there was always a lot of discussion around Matt Cutts. I mean, there was a lot was centered around him. But I think that since he's been gone, on the flip side, more people have been focusing less on Matt Cutts and been focusing more on just the industry itself, right? And the search industry has always been one of those that is extremely community involved, and we share we share our knowledge with each other on the web, right? So I've seen. So I don't know. I think that I will, because it's been sort of like a I guess I don't even want to, almost like a mascot or something. But now, yeah. But at the end of the day, I think that Google will be fine. I think Matt, will be fine if he doesn't return. I'm sure it's probably the best decision for him.
You're not worried about Google yet. That's nice of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tony, did you follow Matt quite closely in terms of what he said, or were you not that concerned really?
Wait, you mean like, was I the car behind his car at every conference? Was I following him to the hotel, to the restaurant?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was you.
That's always one of my favorite parts of the conferences that he would attend. There would be that mad rush to figure out what bar he was going to that night. Everybody in hope that they're going to catch some tidbit at 2 in the morning. So That's always a lot of fun. But in reality, I think that here's a pretty cool guy that started as a software engineer and turned into sort of this micro celebrity inside of an industry. And I can't imagine that back in 1995 when he's doing his PhD and headed into software engineering, that this is what he thought he would be doing. So, I got to feel like that's pretty stressful. I want to go on record as saying I'm not worried that he's not been paid the last year. I'm okay with that. I think he's going to do just fine. I think everyone can quit lamenting that he's got no paycheck. He's got health care, so that's good. But I think he did okay. I think if he never comes back to work, he'll probably live out his life just fine. But yeah, I mean, I've said in my classes at the university a couple of times that I felt like Matt Cutts walked out of the situation at a time that he could look back and say, you know what, we built the search engine algorithm. Like, it's substantially complete. And I know there's going to continue to be updates, and I would never ignore that, as search engine optimization professionals, we're going to fight these updates all the time, and we've got a lot that we need to do for our clients, but it's substantially completed. I mean, Google wanted to come up with a digital way to catalog and rank pages, and you just don't see the same types of massive spam and hacking attacks that you saw just 3-4 years ago. And so I kind of feel like he accomplished what he was going to do, put a pin in it, and now it's on to the next thing. So maybe he goes back and works on Microsoft Connect and gets the whole Xbox thing to work the way he wants. So I don't know.
No, well said. He has accomplished a lot. He'll certainly be remembered 10, 20 years from now as someone that made a significant difference in the evolvement of the internet, I reckon. So who knows what he's going to do, but he was interesting while he was here, but I'm sure the future is going to be interesting with or without him. Well, coming up, we're going to be talking about the best time to tweet, why Google want to pay money to Moz, and the perceived reliability of Google's direct answers takes another hit.
You're listening to This Week in Organic, live from London, on thisweekinorganic.com.
But first of all, we've got a shout-out. And now, when you sign up to watch This Week in Organic Live, you're encouraged to socially share the show. And in return, we're going to give you a shout-out. So a shout-out this week to Vince Martinez. So thanks for sharing This Week in Organic on Twitter. Vince had a website designed by Tony. Tony, you can pay Vince later for this. So Vince, you can find Vince on his website over at cbcadvisors.com. But moving on to the next topic, which is Buffer. Now, Buffer have released a study saying that the best time to get more clicks on your tweet is between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. But of course, the most popular time to tweet is during the day. So when is the best time to tweet? Should we all be getting up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning to tweet? Who's an avid tweeter here? Tyler, are you an avid tweeter?
Yeah, that's kind of my social media platform of choice nowadays. I spend a lot more time on Twitter than I would on, say, LinkedIn or Facebook. Facebook nowadays is basically just to tell people happy birthday. But I found that article very, very interesting in the fact that I really don't see you getting the true engagement that you want out of a 2 a.m. Tweet. So they're saying, hey, it's a great time to tweet, 2 a.m. You're going to be able to get to the other side of the world. Probably could be getting to a lovely little click farm as well while you're at it, which I think might be playing into the factor. I don't know. I'm not Buffer, but I definitely that's what rang some red flags for me right away. Was saying that's a little strange because I just don't see a lot of people up and around at that time. So if you're tweeting, so if I'm a business in Kansas City tweeting at 2 a.m., the people that are going to be reading, if I'm tweeting 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, I'm basically going to be preaching to the Shanghai choir and the Indian markets, maybe Australia, maybe a little bit of Europe, but it's just kind of a strange time.
It's probably not the right thing to take away from the study that it's a higher click-through rate to maybe any URLs in there. It's probably not the right thing to focus on there. Obviously, the majority of people are clicking during the daytime, so that's probably the right time to do it for the majority of target markets. Josh, are you someone that is really into Twitter, and did this pique your interest at all?
Yeah, I mean, I tweet a bit, but honestly, I'm kind of on the same page. I'm not sure how tweeting at 2 a.m. is going to reach my target audience. Unless they're in a different country. So, and in this case, sometimes they are. But at the same time, and it's funny that he actually mentioned he gets on Facebook to say happy birthday. I actually just started automating my happy birthdays with this and that. So I don't automate on Twitter, but I automate.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm seriously going to do that today.
Yeah, every time it's somebody's birthday, we get a happy birthday notice automatically. Very consistent. So, but yeah, as far as what Buffer was saying about getting the highest amount of clicks, maybe is it the highest click-through rate that they announced, or is it the actual highest number of clicks? Maybe it's the highest click-through rate.
It's the highest click-through rate. So, I mean, by far the highest use of Twitter is during the days.
Mm-hmm. So you may have had 2 impressions in 1 click. So I don't know. I mean, you have a 50% click-through rate. So I mean, it's just hard to understand unless I actually sort of see their data. It's hard to really validate that claim.
Yeah, it's a strange piece of data to look at and take anything from, really. I don't think many people will be letting that change the way they conduct business, unless Tony's got another opinion at all.
Well, I mean, it depends on your industry. We've got a couple of clients where at 2 a.m. is really where their users engage.
Do we want to talk about that?
Well, I mean, entertainment, local bars. I mean, at 2 a.m. is a great time. If I was somebody like Uber trying to drive people home from the bars, 2 a.m. is a great time to be tweeting. But no, you're exactly right. I mean, I think the reason why Buffer came up with these numbers, again, I don't think they mean crap. I don't think there's any weight in it. It's just there's no competition at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you look back at Rand Fishkin's presentation that he traveled around with maybe about 3-4 years ago, it was the choose short men and tall women. I don't know if you guys saw that, but Rand Fishkin talked about how 6.5% of your followers is the most you'll ever find online at any time. And social media, to me, has become a competition. I would never post on behalf of a client at 2 a.m. as opposed to posting multiple times during the day. It just doesn't make any sense.
Okay, well, you mentioned Rand Fishkin there, so I'm talking about him. He recently received an email from Google claiming that Moz could make $2.5 million a year by partnering with Google to display CPM ads. So are we seeing Google turn into a global media house? Should we be thinking that advertising agencies maybe should be concerned about that? Tyler, have you got any thoughts about that?
I thought that was quite interesting. It's basically like AdSense 2.0, saying let's get these big players on our side, obviously trying to compete with the Facebook competition going on. I thought it was quite interesting that they reached out to Moz for that, since that's kind of a strange choice for who to target specifically. Of course they're going to talk about it, but I'm sure they're doing this across the board. And I do think it's a good opportunity for Google. They're always trying to expand their AdSense network and expand their CPM network and be able to kind of become a publishing house. That's kind of the goal for every major player in the space right now. So it's interesting to see kind of where this goes and who's going to jump on it in the future. Doesn't look like Moz is very interested, but it could be that this individual sales method for this strategy works out as well for some of the major players moving forward. But I don't know. Only time will tell.
Okay, so there's a bit of interference coming through there. I wasn't sure if it's your microphone or perhaps just something else happening there. Advertising agencies could potentially be concerned or scared about this. You've got global massive organizations like WPP. Tony, do you think that big groups like that need to be very concerned about Google perhaps going directly to organizations and getting revenue and bypassing the traditional media model?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I was just more excited that Moz gets a little extra revenue, right? I think it was more exciting that they could use $2.5 million. But so as I look at the digital display landscape, something like this, where Google starts moving into this, to me is such a small player in the global aspect. I mean, I don't know who is doing display seriously that isn't doing programmatic and isn't leveraging networks and exchanges. And honestly, Google Display Network and most of what Google's doing, what we call around here front door activities. So, I'll place ad buys on Google, but I'm going to do it through, exchanges and demand side platforms so I can get it for the right price. I'm never going to walk through the front door and say, here's my ads, charge me what you will. And so them making moves like this, unless they are going to tie up about 400 major companies, I'm not super concerned.
So, sorry, carry on, Tony.
Sorry, well, I was just going to say, I mean, if Google's strategy was start buying companies and absorbing display media companies, then that's a whole different story. But, just opening up their ad buys and making some changes, that, to me, it's just a non-issue.
Right, okay. So I was just going to ask Josh. Josh, do you think that it's perhaps someone junior, maybe within Google or fairly junior, reaching out and not really knowing what Moz represents? Or do you think...
I think that was actually one of my initial thoughts, was wondering who was the guy that actually reached out to them. They must have some people out there that are bringing these numbers together and presenting them in some sort of system, some sort of sales process that they're going through, and it's just funny because Moz represents the exact opposite of what they're trying to do, it's quite ironic. But I think that as far as the reason why Google reached out to them, I think that's got to be it. It's probably it, either that or they just have figured out a way to programmatically do it, build lists and send this information out. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's really that big of an issue. $2.5 million to Google is nothing. Or I guess that'd be going to Moz, but at the same time, that's just such a small piece of what they're trying to do, like Tony was saying, globally. So I think that it must just probably just was something that was sent off without even thinking about it.
So Tyler, if you were Rand Fishkin, would you happily let Google swipe your palm with $2.5 million?
If I was Moz, I don't think I would take the money. I don't think I would do it. I believe that one of the things that makes Moz great is they don't inundate with ads and they don't really push that level. So I like that they published it out and didn't just take what seemed like a pretty nice offer. So no, if I was Rand, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, you can understand if they're a media house and just producing content all the time, and their core business was on advertising, but they've got a different revenue model, and most businesses that have their own revenue model would be better off focusing on that and driving people through their own funnel rather than accepting advertising. So it's not necessarily logical.
Moz probably got more PR value out of posting that than they would have out of the revenue.
Yeah, that's great.
True.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, sticking with Google, just finally, last week we talked about what killed the dinosaurs. So if you haven't heard about that or don't know what I'm talking about, go and watch last week's episode of This Week in Organic. But this week, when you asked Google who will be the next president, it came back with the answer, Hillary Clinton is the next president of the United States. So surely Google can't continue like this. That's just ridiculous search results. Tony, would you like to start us off on this one?
Well, I love that they just saved this country so much money. I mean, we don't even have to hold an election right now. And it's not my political view, but I don't know if I actually disagree. I think that she's going to be the next president, whether we like it or not. So I think it all fits perfect together, honestly.
It's like Back to the Future. It's like you've got a magazine, you've got an almanac now, haven't you, that has the result of the next election. Yeah.
Meet me in Vegas. Let's play some bets. I mean, we have a guaranteed win right here.
Do you want to play some bets, Josh?
Oh, well, I don't know. That's just, I think that's interesting. I'm wondering if that could have possibly been some sort of an issue with the algorithm, maybe a bug. Quite possibly, it was asking. It thought it was somebody was asking who is running for president. But outside of that, I'm not sure. It's just that's just one of those weird things that Google does.
I think it's completely acceptable if it was a number one normal organic search result, but of course this was a direct answer, so it's something that
Right.
that Google tend to indicate that is the factual answer to something. So that maybe
that's actually one of those things that actually I'm glad you said that, because I mean Google they're constantly trying to update and advance their conversational search. That's a huge initiative of theirs. There's been talk about, from Larry Page about, taking it to the next level, and so they could be doing tests, experiments, who knows? But I think that it would be a little bit. I think Google, being who they are, in the spotlight, I highly doubt that they would intentionally make that response. They would purposely make that response.
No, I'm sure of that. But I mean, even if they made it by mistake, if they do that too many times, too direct answers, then they're making themselves look a little bit foolish, though.
They are, yeah. They are making themselves look foolish, and people. That's exactly what they're trying to avoid is a bad user experience, and that's exactly what that is. You keep getting those responses, people are going to stop having faith in the information that they're providing.
And then DuckDuckGo will become more popular. Going back to
there, you go.
Yeah. Going back, Tyler, are you a fan of direct answers, or do you not like them at all?
I'm a fan of direct answers. I think it's going to be a while before they truly kind of catch where everything you could safely trust a direct answer. It always kind of reminds me of that old episode of the American version of The Office where Michael Scott decides to just drive into a lake because he's going to trust his technology so much, and Google says you need to drive this way, and he drives just right into a lake or GPS or whatever time. Of this was, did this hurt the Hillary Clinton campaign? Like, did Google accidentally hurt or help Hillary, and how are these? Is there going to be any ramifications from this or not?
That's a good point. I mean, I haven't looked at the discussions on social media. Does anyone know if it's generally positive or negative about Hillary Clinton regarding this?
There's a lot of everything.
Over here. Yeah.
I think pretty unanimously, it's not something that any of us would spend our time looking for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry, I just asked one of those questions that is a bad question to ask in this kind of scenario. I always like saying people's name and asking a question directly to that person, because if I ask a general question and then there's either silence or everyone answers, it's not a good thing to do. But it's intriguing to see what will happen with Google Direct Answers, because we were talking about that a little bit last week as well, and people were disagreeing about whether or not it's a good thing and whether or not it will continue. We had Anne Smarty on, and she was saying that she didn't like it and she didn't think it would continue at all. And then we had Jeff from Jeffalytics, disagreeing with her on that as well. So who knows what the future will involve? I mean, certainly if it is to continue, they'll have to do a better job with delivering better quality results.
Well, it's not only that, but it's also, if you think about it, those direct results decrease the amount of traffic you actually get to your site. So, getting that instant response reduces the amount of people that are actually going to click on your site to get that information. So that was one of the things that I think Rand Fishkin actually posted a slide share or a slide deck that I'm not sure which where he was, probably a MozCon or something like that, but he used those as examples. No traffic for me, because Moz would be pulling up for quite a few of those direct instant responses or direct responses. So that's an interesting way to look at it. And from that perspective, I wouldn't like it, but at the same time, I think that Google, I don't know if that's going to go away anytime soon. I think that's the direction Google's really trying to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's new technology. We've got Stephanie Catcher on Twitter again saying not just Google, Siri answers with unexpected results based on strategic programming. So all these voice-activated searches are experimental, really, and really Google Direct Answers is kind of related to that. Tony, I don't think I asked you, are you a fan of Direct Answers? Do you like what it offers?
No, I like it quite a bit. I do agree with what Josh said, that it's going to reduce traffic to a website. But I think that Google's mission is not to reward those that organically rank. I think their mission is to deliver quality answers to the user. And in some areas they completely nail it, and in other areas we have these mishaps, like who the next president's going to be. I think like anything that they do, they're going to iron it out, and I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. I think that where I struggle with the whole program is where they pull those answers from. Really the information is being given, and I think that if I had to make a guess, I would think that they're looking at click-through rate and tracking where that user is finding the information that they engage with and that they love. And so right now they're pulling what they feel is the best result, but I think you're going to see dramatic changes in how that technology works, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
Watch the space. Well, I mean, that just about takes us towards the end of the show. So there's about enough time probably for one single takeaway from everyone. So if everyone can have a little think about one takeaway that you reckon the listeners should be taking away from our discussion, and then we'll finish off with just confirming, obviously, your contact details if anyone would like to get in touch with you. So let's start off with Tyler. Tyler, what would you say is one takeaway for the viewers from our conversation? And if you could share contact details, how people could get in touch with you, please.
Yeah, I think one takeaway from our conversation today would be, I think all of us should attempt for the next week to only tweet at 2 a.m. and just see what happens. See what happens, how our click-through rate goes, how our engagement, get some good tools, be able to check out what our social media presence is doing. I think I actually am. I think my plan is I'm going to spend a week, because half the time with my Twitter I'm doing strange experiments because I just really want to see, what works and what doesn't. I like to tinker, so that's why I'm an SEO, right? So I think it's something that people need to test out. I'll take everything with a grain of salt. I really don't think this is really going to change the way we use Twitter or change any of our brands. But personally, that's my plan. I think that's a fun takeaway for today. And you can get a hold of me via Twitter. Probably is the best place. My username is @TylerBarnes. Or you can check out my company's website at www.emfluence.com. Thanks.
Great stuff. Okay, so Josh, are you going to be joining us at 2 o'clock in the morning?
I might just schedule a buffer to do that for me. Yeah, so I think the biggest takeaway from to take from this is just that obviously right now just more than ever, I mean, we see that the search industry is we're constantly keeping up. It's very active, more now than ever, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future. And you can get all of me either by just tweeting me at joshbelland.com or at joshbelland, or you can visit our company website, which is signetinteractive.com. That's SIGNET interactive.com.
Lovely. And Tony's just stopping his printer going there.
Sorry.
That's okay. If you could just tell us a little bit about, no problem. What's your takeaway and contact details?
Well, I think that the news, the press for the 10 million searches on DuckDuckGo is really giving them a bump. I do agree that they're a long way from putting Google out of business, but I think every little bump is going to help, and I would be tremendously excited to see a real serious competitor in the marketplace. I just, Google is so dominant in so many areas of the world. I just think it would be a lot of fun. I love the economics of seeing a real strong competitor with a really different business model. So that's my main hope, that DuckDuckGo really doesn't just follow in the steps of Google and eventually end up being Google Part 2, that they really follow their business model. So, if you want to get a hold of me, at Tony Passey, TonyPassey, is my Twitter, and our agency is Pole Vault Agency, polevaultagency.com.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Interesting thoughts there. It'll be certainly interesting to see what happens with DuckDuckGo. Maybe if Google continues to give some dumb answers to their direct answers, then that may just happen. So we'll see. I'm David Bain, head of growth at analyticsseo.com, and you can also catch me interviewing online marketing gurus over at digitalmarketingradio.com. Now, if you're watching this show as a recording, remember to watch the next episode live. Head over to thisweekinorganic.com and sign up to watch the next show in real time. But for those of you watching live, thank you very much for participating and tweeting. It was really, really appreciated. So keep on doing that next time. And remember to continue sharing your thoughts using the hashtag TWIO on Twitter. So just the 4 letters, TWIO. So until next time, have a fantabulous weekend. And thank you all for joining us. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for being part of it, Tyler, Josh, and Tony. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.